Ocarina of Time turns 25 this year, a game which has topped seemingly every best of list in existence. At this point, Ocarina of Time has become a video game institution. Now, just like many of us, I loved this game growing up. I was terrible at it, but I still loved it even though it took me forever to try and win Epona. But I haven't really played it properly since it first came out, so I thought I'd go back and replay Ocarina of Time to see how well it's aged and if it's still as good as we remember 25 years later. Alright, we start with Link having an ominous dream. Look at the poor kid, he's sleeping with his clothes on, there's no pillow or duvet, and he's constantly convulsing for some reason. Before long, Navi arrives with an important mission. Turns out Link has been summoned by the great Deku Tree. Oh boy, I can't wait for my adventure to begin. Right, so if I remember, you get the sword at the end of the maze and the shield at the shop. 40 rupees for a wooden shield. Talk about a cost of living crisis. Link then visits the big tree who has a very important quest for him inside his mouth. I need an adult. This early part of the game does a great job at slowly introducing all the various Zelda gameplay elements. The items, the dungeon navigation, the puzzles, and the enemies. 25 years later, the gameplay, especially with the N64 controller, does take a bit to get used to, especially the camera. Oh, damn it. Oh well, he died doing what he loved, clipping through geometry. Okay, time for the leap of faith. Oh, I'm gonna feel that in the morning. Link then takes on his first boss, and even the boss's wall crawling is supposed to get you used to the game's lock and targeting mechanic. Oh my eye, I'm not supposed to get Kokiri's sword in it. Link then learns that long ago, 3 goddesses named Blossom, Bubbles, and Buttercup created the Triforce. But now the evil Ganondorf with his evil sideburns aims to capture the Triforce and use it for evil. The tree then bestows Link with this piece of bling. He tells him to find Princess Zelda and then dies, with his mouth still open. I wonder if he's related to this thing from the Chamber of Secrets. And so young Link embarks on his epic journey only to be immediately interrupted by this stupid owl, which never shuts up. It's like the youngster Joey of Zelda games. And even when he finally asks you if you understand, the default option is no, so I'd always get stuck in this endless loop. Being able to run around Hyrule Field was amazing. It felt like I could go anywhere. You have to remember this was 3 years before GTA 3. Playing it now, especially after coming off the Switch Zelda games, it does feel very quaint and cozy. Now this game also had a day-night cycle, and unfortunately this poor orphan child couldn't make it to the castle in time and ended up spending the entire night fighting the undead. The next morning, a battle-weary Link arrives in the market outside the castle populated with all your favorite characters. Bearded man, lady obsessed with dog, and couple endlessly spinning on the spot. We sneak past the guards into the castle. Oh, these guards are surprisingly short-sighted. Hello? No? Nothing? Link eventually sneaks into the garden where Zelda's fine art collection can be seen through the window. He meets Zelda, they get a good look at Ganondorf's evil schnozzle, and then she asks him to find 2 more stones so they can stop Ganondorf from getting the Triforce. Oh, and also her babysitter teaches Link a very special tune on the ocarina. At this point, the game really opens up and allows you to tackle it at your own playstyle. You can either start building Link up by doing a plethora of different side quests like the ranch, the graveyard, the fishing, and about 100 other things, or just continue the main quest, which has you going through the village, up the mountain, and into Goron City to speak to Darunia, the leader of the Goron. Also, did anyone else get creeped out at the fact that he was totally naked? Anyway, despite all his gains, Chad Goron over here is still depressed, and if you were a stupid child like me at this point, you'd have to backtrack all the way to the forest to get Saria's song, which you can then play for Darunia. Oh god, look, he starts vibing to it so hard that he ends up having some kind of a stroke. Oh, and he also gives you the bomb bracelet so you can enter Dagondo's cavern and get the second stone. And this dungeon culminates in Link going inside the mouth of another giant creature. The oral fixation continues, with you having to throw bombs inside Dagondo's mouth before he jumps inside the volcano and goes out Terminator 2 style. Replaying this game all these years later, I'm still amazed at the sheer amount of side content and exploration you can do in Ocarina of Time. For example, blowing up this random stone and then falling down this hole to find a cave with a cow inside. And you know what? I never figured out what the cow's for. Link then climbs up the mountain, gets another lecture from Joey the Owl, and then meets the Fairy Queen, who kind of looks like every Spice Girl fused together, and also she's 30 feet tall. But it's her banshee-like laugh that always used to creep me out as a kid. On to Zora's Domain, where we learn that Link has a lung capacity of a chain smoker. Also, King Zora's daughter, Princess Ruto, has gone missing and we must find her. He aids the young hero in his quest by slowly moving his giant ass out of the way.
10 years later.
Yeah, you can tell he's clearly mortified about the entire situation. Turns out the princess has been swallowed by Lord Jubbu Jubbu. And once again, we find ourselves inside a giant creature's mouth. Out of the 3 starting dungeons, I always found this one the most annoying. Mainly because you've got to carry the princess around as you traverse Jubbu Jubbu's insides. Also, this dungeon is fucking gross. Old Jubbu is long overdue for a visit to the clinic. He's full of ulcers, warts, and whatever the hell this is. Some of his STDs have gotten so bad they've taken on a life of their own, like this depressed looking thing that chases you around. Of course, the trick is to boomerang it right in the hemorrhoid. Link defeats the boss, rescues the princess, and gets the 3rd stone. Wait, how did they get out of Jubbu Jubbu? Because it sure wasn't through the mouth. Looking back at it now, the Young Link section of Ocarina of Time is a perfect example of how to set up a game. It does a great job of establishing the world, the lore, and the characters. Gameplay elements are gradually introduced to the player, and you're given plenty of time and opportunity to get accustomed to each one. By the time you clear the first 3 dungeons, you feel ready for the big leagues, literally. Okay, so Link goes to the Temple of Time to deposit the 3 stones, but ends up ambushed by Ganondorf, who gets 1/3 of the Triforce and uses it to take over Hyrule. Link is then awakened 7 years later, now a man. Only that's not really what he looks like in the original game, is it? Damn, it looks like puberty really did a number on his nose. Anyway, the wise sage Rauru explains that Link must use his schnozzle to sniff out the other 6 sages that will help him steal Ganondorf in the Dark Realm. Also, here's Sheik. You've definitely never met her before, and she's going to teach you some more tunes. Now, we all know the real first thing you have to do is get back to the ranch to get Epona, and this is the first example of the action and consequence effect thanks to the time skip. The ranch has now been taken over by this evil Luigi-looking fella, Ingo. In the past, he was a stable hand cleaning up and complaining about the owner. Now he owns the ranch thanks to an implied hostile takeover with the help of Ganondorf. Look, he's even wearing fancy clothes. Also, who else accidentally ran over the chickens and got attacked by the entire flock? Again, it's the little things that really make this game. Something that I'm afraid hasn't aged too well is the actual horse riding. It's really clunky, and using the same button to boost and get off really wasn't a great idea, but still, it beats rolling around everywhere. Okay, back to the main quest. First stop is the Forest Temple in Kakiri Village, which is really in need of some weeding. You do the dungeon with the 4 ghosts, get the bow, fight a piece of abstract art, and then Saria is revealed to be one of the sages. Next stop, Goron City, where once again we see the passage of time. Darunia now has a son, which he named after Link, so naturally Link blows him up. And as a sign of gratitude, he gets a heat-resistant tunic. Alright, let's test it out. The tunic, it does nothing. Every time Link and Sheik jam, you can really feel the tension in the air. So you get through the fire temple, rescue the Gorons, and then whack-a-mole the boss with your newly acquired Megaton hammer. Darunia is revealed to be the sage, and he gives you the Don Toretto treatment. Now everybody knows the water temple is a nightmare, but it's an entire ordeal just to get into it. The lake is frozen, so you've got to do the ice cavern first to get the iron boots and the blue fire so you can thaw out Father of the Year over here. But hey, at least he gives you a stylish blue tunic. So you do the water temple, fight Chaos from Sonic Adventure, and Princess Ruto is revealed to be a sage. Alright, this is followed by a detour back to the past to acquire the Lens of Truth, which you use to do the Shadow Temple in the future. The temples really start to get tough at this point, and this one always gave me the creeps as a kid. But hey, at least you get these stylish hover boots. The temple's boss is Bongo Bongo, a relative of the Master Hand. And just like the temples, at this point the bosses also start to get pretty hard. They still follow the same behavior patterns as the earlier ones, but now you've really got to pay attention and get your timing just right. The final temple lies west in the land of Gerudo. Link and his noble steed gallantly jump over the... Damn it! Did I mention the horse controls suck in this game? Anyway, here we are in Gerudo Valley, the land of red-headed ladies who stayed in the tanning bed for just a bit too long. And their botched tan job has made them so angry they imprisoned these 4 carpenters which you have to rescue. You're a cute kid. I need an adult again. These carpenters are also idiots. No wonder they got captured. Look, as soon as I free them, they run straight to where the guards are. Link then makes his way through the desert to this incredibly passionate, sensual theme. And we're on to the Spirit Temple. Well, eventually. First, you've got to go back in time again. At this point, I did feel like the developers were trying to stretch the game a bit. You've got to do the Spirit Temple twice, once as a child and then again as an adult. And Link's ongoing journey to pick up more bling leads him to the Silver Gauntlet and Mirror Shield, which he can use to fight against these twin witches. And this is the boss fight which has aged the worst in my opinion. Deflecting the elemental attacks using the shield is a cool idea, but it just doesn't work very well. You could have the witch right in your line of sight and fire, but it would still miss. Eventually they fuse into what looks suspiciously like a reworked model of the Great Fairy. The Spirit Temple is also notable because the developers realized they had run out of characters from the first part of the game to use as sages, so they invented this lady, Naburu, who also flirts with Link. Wow, the ladies just flock after him in this game. It's the nose, isn't it? With our quest complete, we return to the Temple of Time where Sheik turns out to be Zelda. She explains that her, Link, and Ganondorf all have a piece of the Triforce, and clearly Ganondorf heard his name called because he appears out of nowhere and kidnaps Zelda in this giant rupee.
How it feels to chew 5 gum.
Link then summons the power of Mario Kart, making a rainbow road appear to Ganon's castle. Also, who does Link think he is rocking up to the castle with that much drip? The boots, the gauntlets, the mirror shield. Too bad we didn't do the side quest where you can get the North Face jacket. Ganondorf's castle is comprised of 6 mini dungeons, each corresponding to one of the main elements of the game. After doing those, Link makes his way up the tower where he catches Ganondorf just jamming to his favorite tune. Okay, time for the big battle to decide who has the biggest nose. To be honest, a big chunk of it is just the 2 of them playing volleyball. And Ganondorf is a sore loser because eventually he'll just try to use a spirit bomb on you. But a quick light arrow to the groin will see to that. Eventually, Link defeats Ganondorf and frees Zelda, but the castle begins to collapse. Zelda asks you to follow her, but she's so slow that I always end up leading the way, even with all this drip weighing me down. The exit is just ahead. Well, why are you just standing there? Open it! I can only take so many flaming boulders to the head. They finally escape and take on Ganondorf's true form, Big Pig Ganon. You smack him around a few times and then Zelda assists with a Tri-Beam Ha. The 7 sages combine to form a Megazord and lock Ganon away.
Curse you, Link! I shall return in Legend of Zelda the Wind Waker, exclusive for the Nintendo GameCube!
And so the land of Hyrule is saved and we see all the characters getting drunk. But what about Link? Surely after all that effort he gets the girl. Nope, poor Link gets friend-zoned so hard he turns back into a child. And so there we have it, The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. It's a game that manages to both be grandiose yet subtle and understated. It deals with epic archetypal themes, the hero, the arch-villain, saving the world, time traveling. I can do an entire video on how Ocarina of Time uses Joseph Campbell's blueprint for the hero's journey. But at the same time, you could say that it's all the little, subtle things that make the game really great. All the secondary characters and their stories, and of course there's a plethora of side quests, each helping you to enhance your experience in different ways. But Ocarina of Time is not the kind of game that holds your hand and gives you items on a plate. No, it encourages exploration. You really have to engage with the world to progress in the game. That, or ask your friends on the playground the next day. Collecting chickens in exchange for the empty bottle, racing Dumpy to get the hookshot, and going back in time to get the Lens of Truth have become part of gaming folklore. Sacred knowledge that was passed around playgrounds in the late 90s before the widespread of the internet. Ocarina of Time has aged, how could it not? It's a quarter of a century old. Not so much the graphics, Link's nose aside, the N64 graphics have kind of become charming and nostalgic. To me, the controls are really the only elements of this game that haven't aged well. But even there, I think it deserves a bit of slack. Not only was it Nintendo's first attempt at a 3D Zelda, but they were also working with one of the most bizarre controller layouts of all time. And so yes, 25 years later, Ocarina of Time is still a great game. I'm not saying that because of its legacy and the generations of games that it inspired, which would all be perfectly valid. No, it's a great game because in 2023, Ocarina of Time still immerses you in its fun, compelling world, even if the horse controls are terrible. But that's just my take. Please let me know your memories and thoughts on Ocarina of Time in the comments. How well does it hold up for you? As always, thanks for watching. Please consider supporting me on Patreon, and a big thanks to all of my existing patrons. Also, if you've enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and hit the bell. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.